Επιδεόμεθα υπέρ των εκλεγών και ορθοδόξων χριστιανών. Επιδεόμεθα υπέρ του Αρχιεπισκόπου ημών Θεαφή. Όνομα της Αγίας,
προς τούτο απευθύνουμε προς όλους σας και ιδιαίτερα προς την νεολαία και προς τις ενόπλους δυνάμεις της χώρας, με πρωτοβουλία των οποίων τύλιξε ο δρόμος για την αποκατάσταση της ομαλότητας. Τις οποίες την ανεξαρτησία και ακεραιότητα θα προασπίσουμε με όλες μας τα δυνάμεις, με σταθερότητα και με πίστη στις αρχές του δικαίου και στις παραδόσεις της ιστορίας μας.
Νέα βραδινή απογευματινή. Βραδινή απογευματινή νέα. Απογευματινή βραδινή και νέα.
Ποια είναι και έτσι.
Απογευματινή βραδινή νέα. Δηλώσεις του Καραμανλή. Νέα απογευματινή και νέα. Έκανε δηλώσεις ο Καραμανλής.
What did it feel like now, the night that you knew that for the first time in 7 years you could publish a newspaper that was uncensored?
Well, you'd say two things. First, it was an enormous relief to be able to publish a paper without any outside interference, and then having put it to bed, go off home and sleep quietly, and not waiting for a knock on the door or a phone call to somebody to wake you up at 4 in the morning screaming at the top of his voice. Because it worked, you know, this way that in the first place you had a censorship, but it was not simply a censorship of ideas or comment, it was a censorship of news, more than of ideas. I mean, it reached a ludicrous point when President Makarios was overthrown, what was it, 2 weeks back? You were not allowed to mention him by name. You were allowed to say the ex-president or the overthrown president of Cyprus, but you were not allowed to spell out his name. I mean, we did it once, just for the kicks, not the kicks, as a matter of principle, we said we just mentioned his name once, and all hell broke loose. So there you had this form of censorship, and the second point is that aside from censorship, you had all kinds of other forms of pressure. That anybody could be picked up at any time. I mean, my number two, Mr. Romeos, spent, 3 months in military police gaol for no good reason at all, beyond that it was a form of pressure put on the paper. You behave or else.
Yes. Were you yourself arrested at some stage?
I was arrested way back in '67, in December '67. never interrogated, no charge at all, and then let loose. My editor, the managing editor, stayed 3 months in military police Go, was interrogated twice simply on news items, and then while he was arrested, I was also picked up, and we were confronted on something concerning a Spanish story we had run. We had run a story about the Basque nationalists against Franco, and that was considered subversive.
You've come back to Greece for the first time for about 8 years. What's been your first impression coming back here?
The first impression is that the Greeks are still afraid to speak. They're afraid that they are not liberated. It's Cyprus that is a very painful thing. They feel that the canals had made an economical chaos that is unbearable, and they cry because they believe that perhaps they will be obliged to make a war that is not a war of people, but is an imperialist war.
Do you think people have confidence, though, and belief in the new government that's just been formed?
They don't still believe that they are free, and I told you, they're afraid, but it is a hope. It is a hope that perhaps if they don't feel the independence, they still feel the hand of the Americans here. This is the feeling that I had. But I feel that the catastrophe that happens in the soul of the Greek people is very big, and I believe that all the leaders from all the political parties must be very wise in this moment, this very critical moment, to come back to Greece and really to fight for the true democracy and the true independence of Greece. Nothing is finished, and perhaps it's a beginning. We must have a discipline, and we must be organized.
Are you going to be part of that organization? Are you going to be active politically?
If you want me to tell you that I will be an MP or no, that is not in my heart. What I want to be is a good citizen and to protect the laws of independence and freedom of mankind.
You know, I'm sorry that the two of us have arrived together, but I think it's work out all right. And if we can do this together, then I think there's no great problem. So, are you going up to Athens? Did I hear you say it this morning? No. I stay here. Are you happy about the new government? Some people say that it's too much right-wing.
After 7 years of dictatorship, it's very difficult to go to one immediately in the left. But after the first formation with the rightists, now we have in the government socialists for the first time in the history, in the Greek story. And I hope that after a few weeks, perhaps Karamanlis have in the government the communists too.
You think he might even include communists?
Yes, but I must that he must go. He must have the communists because now the important is to have one national unity now. There must be everybody together against the dictatorship. This is the problem, the national problem now. The struggle against the dictatorship, who is finished now, but the men stay, the mentality stay, the mechanism stay.
The army is still there after all.
Yes, the army is still, but the army is the man, is the person. But I think that the important change is the change of the dynamism. It's another dynamic now.
Yes,
another dynamic against the junta now. This is the important thing.
Now, if he doesn't bring the communists into his government, what do you think is going to happen then?
I don't know later who is the politics. If the politics of Karamanlis is to restore the democracy and to struggle against dictatorship, I am with him. This is the important now. After a few years, perhaps, there's other problems, other contradictions. At this moment, we decide. But now the important thing is the struggle against dictatorship. It must be everybody together, all the nations.
Very sorry for the others.
You're a Trotskyist or communist?
Yes.
How were you treated in the prison? Were you treated all right?
At the prison, so, but at
the police?
Yes.
What happened at the police?
Troubles, many troubles.
What sort of troubles?
I can't tell.
You don't speak English.
Constantine.
Τι κάνει ο Νίκος? Τι κάνει ο Νίκος? Τι να γίνει?
Καλά είναι εδώ, έχουμε έρθει όλοι μαζί.
Είναι εδώ?
What sort of work does he do? Why was he sent to prison?
Τι δουλειά εργασίας, τι εργασία έκανες και γιατί ήσουν στη φυλακή?
Πολιτικός.
He was political.
A politician. Is he left wing, communist, left wing?
Has he been tortured when he was there?
Βασανίστηκε όταν ήσουν εκεί?
Από απόψεως ξύλου και τα λοιπά όχι, αλλά υπήρχαν άθλιες συνθήκες. Άθλιες συνθήκες ζωής.
Physically no, he wasn't tortured, but the life there was not at all good.
Άριμος, χωρίς νερό, με φίδια, με ποντίκια.
Without water, with the snakes and mice.
He was the director of the newspaper Christianiki, and he wrote things not only against the government, but against the junta as status quo.
Yeah. What does he think now of the change in government here?
Τι νομίζετε για την αλλαγή στην κυβέρνηση τώρα?
Έγινε ένα βήμα.
There was a step.
Αλλά το τι θα προκύψει τελικώς, αυτό βέβαια θα αποδειχθεί και από τον χρόνο, αλλά και από την πάλι και την δράση και την αντίσταση των δημοκρατικών ανθρώπων αυτού του τόπου.
But we don't know what the result will be, and it depends upon the fight that the people are ready to give the Democrats of their town. Αν είμαστε λυπημένοι, έλεγε να είσαι χαρούμενοι. Δεν πρέπει να είσαι χαρούμενοι.
You have, what other wounds?
We have on my knees wounds which they made beating me with a stick.
Are those still very painful? Do they still hurt a lot?
No, only the right wound, the wound on my right knee pains a little because is open.
That wound is still open?
Yes, yes, after 2 months and 10 days.
It is still open. Will it close? Do the doctors say it will close?
Oh, yes, it will close.
What other injuries have you got? What other wounds?
I have here 2 wounds. They made by a stick when they closed by plastic operations. They put here a bit of lime and is a wound here.
So they beat you and put lime in the wound?
I don't know. Always they beat me, but one time for 5 hours they put on this point, on this place, a bit of lime.
And you have a wound on your back as well, I think?
Yes, I have a wound back which they made me by beating with a block of wounds.
They beat you with it, or they drop it on you?
Yes.
It was a big
I was down on floor and these beat me with a block of wood. Yes.
Well, now, there were a lot of other prisoners who were released at the same time as you who did not have these wounds. They were not tortured like this. Why were you tortured so much more?
I don't know, but I think that they wanted to make me good for nothing for politics.
They wanted to finish you completely,
yes.
Physically. They wanted to
yes,
break
yes,
you, you
yes,
think,
yes.
So that you could be no
because
further
they beat me on my hand and on my genital organs.
What happened to your hand?
They put my hand on the edge of bed and they beat with a stick.
Do you feel that the people, the men who beat you, do you feel they should be punished, they should be brought to justice?
Certainly, it ought to punish, but I think that they didn't, they will not punish.
Why is that?
Because the army has yet the force.
The power is still with the army, you think?
Yes, yes, yes.
Please, very good. Example on margin happens, example, collection. Messiere cadesti.
C'est un morceau comme ça, tu vois?
Oh, never mind. 750, okay. No. $1.
Γιατί μελούμενοι φοιτές δεν ζουνε πια. Αυτοί που θα μιλούσανε πεθάναν όλοι νέοι. Τα θλιβερά τραγούδια τους γυρίκανε πουλιά. Εκεί είστε ξένος ουρανός που λάμπει ξένος ήλιος. Γυρίκαν όλοι ποταμοί και τρέχουνε στη θάλασσα. Γυρίκαν όλοι ποταμοί στη θάλασσα. Και τα